Okay, so a while ago, my friend Jose sent me a meme, and it's a manga panel. I have no idea what it's from. I'm gonna throw a shot in the dark and say something like Baki, but it's a manga panel, and it's of a dude kind of standing like this. He's like at an angle, got his hands in his pockets, like his feet are kind of outstretched in like in opposite directions, and the text on the screen says, "Someone who only looks for peak can never beat someone who experienced something they liked." And it's something I thought about quite a lot while I was playing through Digimon Survive. This is a game that released to mixed reviews, and the sentiment seemed to be that it was alright, but it wasn't great, it really wasn't anything that special. And as someone who had been really looking forward to the game since it was announced, this is something that kind of dampened my excitement to play it. That alongside with the numerous times the game got delayed. And finally, I got around to playing it this year. Is it peak? Probably not. But is it something I genuinely liked? Absolutely. So I will go ahead and give a quick spoiler. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full spoilers are now live for the rest of Digimon Survive. To give a brief overview of the game, Survive is a mix between a visual novel and like a grid-based tactics game, something kind of like Fire Emblem. And there's several choices you can make throughout the game in the VN segments. You can increase your affinity with the other characters, like with the other Digidestined, which is how you unlock some of their evolutions, and it's also how you get, just kind of like assists that'll help you out in the tactics portion. In addition to that, you can also make choices that will affect your morality. So there's 4 routes, but 3 moralities. There's Harmony, Wrathful, Moral, and then Truthful. I kind of interpreted them as like the way I best understood is like, okay, so the moral route, that's the law route, wrath is chaos, harmony is neutral, and then the truthful route that's your true ending. And I guess for full transparency's sake, in addition to full spoilers, I played all of them but the truthful route. The requirement to get the truthful route, I 1000% thought I did it because I had Ryo's affinity at like 70 before the end of chapter 3. I think it was at 73. But because there's a glitch you can do in chapters 3 and 5 to like up people's affinities. I'm like, okay, let me go and get Ryo up to 70 because that's what you need for a mega form. Like, he's at 73, he's fine. Let me go ahead and get some of the other characters to that point as well. And I did that, and I had Minnow at 70, and then answered another thing randomly, which got him up to 74. And because Ryo was not the highest person at the end of chapter 3, he still died when I was trying to do the truthful route. And that, it broke me from wanting to do it. Because at that point, I'm like, I can, because the way I did Wrathful first. Okay, sorry. First playthrough was Wrath, but I also had access to Harmony. So I made a separate save, not a new game, but a separate save where I beat the Harmony route. Then after I beat the Harmony route, I went back to my Wrathful route save and New Game Plus to play the Moral route. New Game Plus again to try to do Truthful. So I realized I can either New Game Plus my Harmony route, which does not have my, I keep calling it the Pokedex. That's not quite right, but I don't care. I wouldn't be able to transfer my Pokedex into the last playthrough, and I was only missing the evolutions from that route and Mikomon, which is, it's Sakuya, maid mode. I just call her Mikomon. Which, by the way, the fact that Renamon has 2 evolutions, but the partner Renamon only has 1 of those 2 evolutions, but her partner is explicitly referred to as a Shrine Maiden several times, but doesn't actually digivolve into the Shrine Maiden form. What the fuck? That bothers me. I have a lot of beef with the Renamon in this game. Overall, I'll get the story in a bit. I like the character, I like their story, but we've got some beef. And this is just one of those other things. I want to like you, and I do. But Oh, yikes, man. But anyways, I'm going on a tangent. But I did 3 of the 4 playthroughs. So the game is 12 chapters, although I believe I heard the Truth Aura actually has 13, but the 3 routes I played have 12. Chapters 1 through 8 are literally the exact same. 9 through 12 are where you get the differences. Harmony and Wrath feel like reskins of each other. Like, the events that happen in all 3 are still very similar, but there's enough things in the moral route to make me feel like this feels different. Harmony and Wrath really feel like the same things happen. It's just kind of a reskin where this character will make the decision instead of this person. You know, this character dies instead of this person. And it's kind of my biggest issue with Digimon Survive. I guess the best way I can articulate it, the story's more streamlined than I wanted it to be. I thought this was very much a game where I don't want to say my choices don't matter, but I wanted my choices to feel like they matter. And I'll give you some examples. In Chapter 2, when you meet Kaito, so you meet Kaito and Arcanimon in disguise, and you have a choice between who do you want to believe. And the impact of that choice really is, okay, is Takuma going to be available in the map against Arcanimon or not? What I was kind of hoping is, okay, so if you don't pick Kaito, Kaito's going to remember that. And here's a character who's very protective of his sister. He's very aggro. It does not take much to get Kaito angry and ready to throw hands. Maybe that's a thing where, because you didn't believe him, he's a lot more hesitant to join the group, or he does join the group because he understands this is the best option for me, but you didn't trust me, so I'm not going to trust you. That would be really interesting, but it doesn't really happen. Or alternatively, in Chapter 5, so as this chapter was going on, and Shuji would say, okay guys, this is what I think we should do, I disagreed with him basically every time. And that was not me intentionally trying to isolate Shuji. It was genuinely, no, I don't think I agree with you here, dude. No, and you see everyone else in the party's like, no, we don't agree with him. We're getting sick of him. He's just kind of an asshole, especially in his relationship with Lotmon. And I'm like, I'm not trying to make your situation worse, but you're making it harder. And I was thinking to myself, the fact that I keep disagreeing with him, am I making this worse? Am I actually isolating him further? And the more I do this, the more likely something terrible is going to happen. Which it does because of Wendigomon, which I won't lie, easily my favorite moment in the game. But I remember at one point in a CTT video being like, you know, I'm not expecting Survive to be as good as something like Muv-Luv, because for me, that's an incredibly high bar. But I'm hoping it maybe gets in that territory, somewhere in that tier. And I'm like, okay, there's a chomp. Like, yes, you genuinely made me think of Muv-Luv. Like, I gotta give you your credit for that. Like I said, easily my favorite part of the game. But it's the fact that, no, even if you agree with Shuji and you're appeasing him or feeding his ego, this is still going to happen. Your choices matter, but they don't really matter. Especially when, like I said, once you get to chapters 9 through 12, the events don't feel that different and are fully out of your control anyways. And I guess it's less that I wish Takuma had more agency, although I feel like that, I don't want to say is a problem with the story, because I don't necessarily mind, but I do feel like, yeah, if you had a character who had more agency, maybe this wouldn't have happened with Shuji. Like, someone could have really sat him down and talked to him. Maybe the same with Ryo, especially given that that's supposed to be how you save Ryo, is you go out of your way to talk to him, make sure he's okay. But that's kind of my thing. It's like, and I guess I also want to make clear, it is not that I dislike the story that I got. But when this is a game that was pitched as this is a survival horror experience, and your choices are going to affect who lives and who dies. I thought that would have been more of, no, me being wrathful, like chaos. I'm putting people in danger by my choices because I'm being more aggressive. Less of, okay, there's a point where we picked the wrath route, which just kind of means these characters were going to die, which had nothing to do with Takuma whatsoever. That's just kind of my issue. So that's my basic overview. Combat's nothing crazy. There's a type triangle. Data beats vaccine, which beats virus, which beats data. And then on top of that, some things are resistant to fire, some things are weak to fire, etc., etc. It's fine. I liked the tactics sections. I don't know if I quite loved them. Like, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I enjoyed playing Fire Emblem Engage. But they're fine. They're fun. There's free battles you can do to recruit wild Digimon, and it's kind of one of the reasons I was using the SMT, like Law, Chaos, Neutral earlier, is the way you recruit Digimon is they'll ask you questions, you have to give them answers that'll appease them, and then like, oh, okay, do you want me to join you? Yes. Well, nah, I'm not gonna, and they just leave, or they'll join you. And I will go ahead and say, because this might be important for my next point, I'm not sure. I did a lot of free battles because I just wanted to recruit, I wanted to add to the decks. And some of the free Digimon that I used for quite a bit of the game, like I had a Betamon that I got to a really high level early on. And then Betamon, Seadramon, Mega Seadramon, Metal Seadramon. There was an Etamon I recruited who was fine. He wasn't great. But then as soon as I could do Mega Evolutions, I got him into Piedmon and he was cooking. And I recruited a Biomon early on, and then used Birdramon for a good chunk of the game for support stuff. I think she had like Speed Break and Guard Break, then into Garudamon, and then into Phoenixmon. So those were kind of my three main free Digimon. And the reason I want to at least say that is I kept waiting for the game to get hard. Because I was told, like, something I'd read, like, I saw it on, like, TV tropes and saw it on Reddit, is that the game is notorious for having, like, a really steep difficulty curve, or it's, like, it's not, let me rephrase that. It has a strong difficulty spike, where people have said, no, like, there's a point in the game where it gets really difficult. That didn't happen, and I don't know if that's just because I had a lot of options because I had a lot of free Digimon, if I was just over-leveled because I was doing that, if it's just a truthful route thing. But, like, doing the wrathful route, the game was not hard. I will say that first map with Piedmon, I had to restart it a couple times, but genuinely, it's because of the Skull Greymon at the start, because of the way, like, I think it's called SP for like skill points or something. I'm just going to call it MP. The way the MP system works is when you digivolve your partners, they lose MP every turn while they're in that form. So for me, I'm like, I kind of want to keep them as rookies for as long as possible, so I'm not just burning MP, which I didn't realize how big Skull Greymon's range was. So I'm like, okay, I think we're okay. Oh no, he just killed somebody, so let me restart so I have access to my full power. It happened a couple times. I said, all right, I'm just going to digivolve everyone at the start. And then, what do you know? Like, I got through it. The map wasn't that bad. Also, like I said, I had Birdramon who was ready to do debuffs. And without that, I probably would have gotten cooked. But I was prepared. The next map with Chapter 8, I'll admit I got lucky because I hit him with Mega Seadramon, which paralyzed him. I'm like, oh, he literally can't do anything. We're just going to gang up on him and kill him. So, like, yeah, on one of the harder maps, RNG was super in my favor. But for me, it felt like, yeah, this wasn't that hard. Fighting Plutomon, super easy. Barely an inconvenience. To the point where anytime the game's like, oh, Plutomon is so powerful. What are we supposed to do? He just, like, blinked and we died. No, he didn't. The fight was a joke. Or in the Harmony route where it's Cervantes mon, like Bolt Boot Mon or something. I just call him Cervantes. Also, super easy, barely an inconvenience. And then when I'm doing New Game Plus and I have access to War Greymon just spirit bombing everything, yeah, it was kind of a joke. And it was something that, on the one hand, made the tactics gameplay more fun because I'm just kind of steamrolling everything. But at the same time, I felt like I have to be tactical to just make my turns more efficient so I can get through the game faster, not because, man, this has gotten really hard and I gotta put my thunkin' cap on, you know? But overall, I would still say I had fun with it. But I do at least want to talk about Agumon's Megaform super quick. Machinedramon is quite possibly my favorite Digimon, and I was hoping that, because I did not know like what going in what Agumon's evolutions were going to be, aside from obviously like the Greymon line. Like, I don't even know about Tyrannomon because this is the first Digimon game I have played. My understanding comes from watching the anime and playing Rumble Arena. So, like, I knew about Greymon, Metal Greymon, War Greymon, but I was like, I hope somehow, some way, if I'm doing like a chaos route, I can get Machinedramon. So when I did, I was ecstatic. And I think Machinedramon is really fun to play. And that evolution scene of Agumon being like, he's in pain because of what's happening to him, but he's so angry. It is such a cool scene. It's easily my favorite of like any of the Digi evolutions. Dino Rexmon's kind of lame. Like, I don't hate the design, but the giant, like, toe talons, I think it's just silly. And not in a way that I think is really fun or funny. It's just, what? And the fact that, like, yeah, he has a decent special attack, but his main stat is his attack. So to be at his most effective, he has to be right in front of something compared to Machinedramon, who can snipe you from almost half a map away. Yeah, he feels significantly worse. And then you have War Greymon, like I said earlier, just chucking spirit bombs halfway across the map. He's a monster. And it almost kind of feels like the different moralities are almost difficulties. Because I feel like Moral is probably the easiest because of how strong War Greymon is. Wrath, I feel like, is almost like medium. And then Harmony, I feel like, is kind of hard mode. Because, like I said, Dino Rexmon doesn't feel as good. And also, like, when you have to go up against Piedmon, yeah, you are at that significant type disadvantage if you're doing a data route. Excuse me. But I guess that's kind of all I really have to say about the combat. In terms of the story, the game's tone, yeah, there's on my mouth. It kind of feels like a cross of Digimon Tamers, Danganronpa, and Silent Hill, which is more or less exactly what I was hoping for. Because like I said earlier, I do like the game. I do like the story that I got. It is an isekai story where I think it's kind of fun that I'm going to say spirited away because it's something they say in the story a lot. So people were spirited away to this other world. But it's a lot like that scene in Spirited Away, with Chihiro and her parents are walking through the tunnel and then they're on the other side. Now you're in the spirit world, in the bathhouse and all that. Works very similarly here. They go under a tunnel. They're in a forest with all these spider lilies and whatnot. Which, speaking of Silent Hill, I can't wait for Silent Hill F and all the spider lilies and whatnot. But they're in this other world, trying to survive, trying to get together, trying to avoid this evil fog that's just ripping them apart. Again, Silent Hill. I mean, fog doesn't rip you apart in Silent Hill, but fog is not a good thing. One of the big plot points is that to keep how do I want to say this? So, you know, in Peter Pan, how fairies exist because humans believe in them, and there's the whole thing, you know, like, I do believe in fairies, and you gotta clap and say that I believe in fairies so Tink can live, which is really weird that in the, like, animated Disney film, which is one of the most famous versions of the story, that scene doesn't happen. I think it happens in Return to Neverland, but it doesn't happen in that version. Sorry, it's kind of weird, but it has this whole like, oh, you know, like we need people to believe in us and believe in fairies. But what generally happens is when humans go into the world, instead of like, okay, like, you know, we want you to believe in us, or like, yo, we'll send you home, just tell people. It's like, no, we have to use you as a sacrifice. It's like they use people as sacrifices, and at the end of the moral route, they kind of realize, oh, you know, if we just like spread knowledge of this world and these creatures, then they can still exist. Like, that's how it works. And I don't know, it kind of made me laugh. Just, oh, we have been doing this the entirely wrong way. Whoops. Without going into spoilers for another game, it reminds me of Yufa's arc in Metaphor. If you know, you know. But yeah. Anyways, sorry, getting a little off topic. Getting very off topic, actually, but trying to get back to it. You get isekai'd with a group of other students. Everyone except Takuma, and Takuma might have his own baggage, that might be something that comes out in the truthful route, but everyone else has significant baggage and issues that they are bringing with them into this other world. Kaito, very protective of his little sister because of an incident where she was being stalked by like a full-grown man. Miyu, the sister, is very... She's, on the one hand, like, very grateful for her brother and very close to him, but is also like, you're smothering me, to a point where this is getting uncomfortable. You have Shuji and Aoi, who are dealing with heavy pressure and expectation. Shuji is from his family, Aoi it's from her teachers and her peers. Saki is someone who is very ill. I don't remember if it was just, if she's actively dying, or if it's, you're sick, you're very frail, and this might get a lot worse if we don't fix it, but is terrified of what she's going through and like what the next surgery might do to her body and the risks if the surgery doesn't work. Ryo is someone who lost his parents, his mom in particular, and is still heavily struggling with the grief. Minoru is someone who... sorry, I scratched my nose. Minnow is someone who just very much lacks self-confidence and self-esteem and belief in himself. And as the story unfolds and you're being hunted, you don't know where you are, you're trying to get the group together, you're being hunted by a giant evil spider and a giant clown dude who are trying to sacrifice you, a lot of these issues start to rear their heads. And in some routes, characters are able to overcome it and become better. In other routes, they kind of just get consumed by those issues. And with Ryo and Shuji, in every route except the truthful route, they are doomed to die. And like I said, I don't mind that as it is. I wish that my active choices... I mean, I guess with Ryo they kind of do, so I guess it's more like with Shuji and some of the other stuff in the other routes. I wish that my active choices had more impact on what happened, but I still more or less like what happens in those first 8 chapters. Chapter 6 is probably my least favorite of the bunch. That's where, after everything happens with Shuji, there's a lot of friction between the kids and their Digimon. And it's one of those where I'm like, I 100% understand after what y'all just saw. But, I don't know, for me it just kind of felt like the least interesting. Aside from the first few, which are like, okay, like, I understand what's happening. We've been isekai'd. We gotta kind of find everybody. So I understand it's going to be a bit slower here, because they don't understand the situation that they're in, but I'm okay with that. This one, there were some parts of it where I'm like, this works. Other parts felt a little forced, but overall chapter 6 is fine. So, I'm going to look at my notes real quick, but I think now I just kind of need to talk about 9 through 12. And why the things that work and the things that don't. But let me just see. Yeah, so now it's time to talk about these. So, at the end of Chapter 8, so in Chapter 8, Takuma and Miyuki, who's the Shrine Maiden girl, go back to the real world, and then they go back. And they explicitly, because I double checked this when I was doing my moral route playthrough. I was like, so did Miyuki just jump in like a couple minutes or like seconds before us? Or did we go in together? Because I thought we went in together. No, it says like, yeah, we all held hands. We jumped in together at the same time. Because when Takuma goes back, everyone tells him, okay, it's been 10 days since you left. Which, that's how it worked in Digimon. I don't remember if it was like that in Tamers as well. If the time was 1-to-1, or like, no, it's still a minute in reality is like a year in the digital world. Like, not quite like that, but that weird time difference. Here it's still there. That makes sense to me. So if Miyuki jumped in before us and we had to hang back and talk with Agumon for a second, I'm like, okay, I can understand Miyuki being there for a while. Then she gets possessed by the master and has been a problem. But it sounded like we literally jumped in together holding hands. But not only did we get separated by space because we did not wake up together, we somehow got separated by time because she got possessed and has been attacking the others for the past few days. I'm not really sure how that happened. Maybe it's supposed to be a thing where it's, Miyuki's body was left behind, but her soul went with us, and so the body got possessed. Because that's a whole thing, or like she's been separate, her soul and her body have been separated. Maybe that was it, and it just wasn't explained super well. I just didn't quite catch it. But I was like, this feels like a bit of a plot hole. But regardless, Miyuki's been attacking. Takuma goes back. She's been controlling these. I'm just going to call them Heartless. She's been controlling Heartless to attack and try and, get her sacrifices, blah, blah, blah. So we go back to the amusement park to talk to Old Man Mon. That's what I like to call Digimon. Well, we talked to Old Man Mon about, like, what should we do? Who should we talk to? The Heartless attack. And depending on the route, someone dies. In the moral route, it's Old Man Mon and none of the party members. In the wrathful route, it's Miyu who dies. In the wrathful route, sorry, I might have said wrathful route there with Miyu, and I apologize. In Harmony, Miyu dies. In Wrath, Saki dies. Saki's death is, this scene bothers me on so many levels. As I was playing it, so what happens is, in all three versions, the party gets separated because someone's like, I want to go help here, I want to go help here, I want to go help here. So Takuma and Agumon start fighting some Heartless, and then you'll get your Mega Evolution. So, Mega Evolution makes it sound more Pokemon, it's your Mega Form, but I'm sorry, I got Pokemon on the brain. Anyways, in Wrath, you get Machine Dramon, and I absolutely crushed that map. Like, it wasn't hard, it wasn't a question. Machine Dramon's a monster. So then it gets back to the story where they're like, oh no, there's this one Heartless is really tough. It just kind of refuses to go down. I'm like, okay, first off, no. Literally not what happened. That thing was gone. It was destroyed. These things were not tough. They were Machine Dramon fodder. There's your first problem. Second problem is Agumon is back to being Agumon instead of Machine Dramon, which always happens in the cutscenes. Like, they're back to being their rookie forms. That's their base forms. I'm like, but here's the thing, though. We are in active combat. Like, you started combat as a rookie, then you digivolved, got that form, like, literally in this fight. If you're fighting something and it's not going down, why did you, de-digivolve? And I understand it's Digimon, if they use too much energy, they go down, or if they get beat up, they can digivolve back down. But that's literally not what was happening. We were curb stomping everything. So you should not be Agumon right now because this thing is not going down. It feels like problem number 2. Problem number 3, So, like, the group is here, the Heartless is here, and then Saki is all the way over here in the corner. And the Heartless is looking around. You get this first-person view where it's scanning everyone like, I don't really want to mess with Agumon right now. Dracmon's kind of a problem. Labramon's kind of a problem. Hey, Saki's by herself, and then just, like, beelines for her. I'm like, okay. Why did none of us stop her? Again, if I was Machine Dramon like I should be, I could snipe that thing before it gets there. But even without that, I don't know, Agumon, can't you do something? Labramon, can't you do something? Why are we letting this happen? Also, the way the scene is set up, my understanding is like if Saki's here in the corner, Floramon is right next to her. Why isn't Floramon digivolving to fight this thing? Why isn't she trying to fight this thing while she's in her rookie form to do something to protect her partner? Also, when the thing grabs Saki and starts dragging her toward the mist, why doesn't Floramon like Spider-Man her tentacles or like her finger things to grab her? Because it's specifically shown in like a chapter or two before this. Okay, it wouldn't have been the chapter 4 though, chapter 8. But there was a previous chapter where there's a bonding event with Saki where she's playing volleyball with Floramon, and they're specifically mentioning that Floramon's fingers can stretch. And it's something they're doing, number one, to kind of relieve tension and to relax, but also to see, like, okay, what are some of, like, the cool things you can do? So you would think that when Saki's being dragged away, Floramon would use that previously established stretching ability to grab her and hold on to her partner for dear life. Does not happen. Also, it's Ai who's able to grab Saki, and she's trying to, like, pull her away from the Heartless who's pulling her into the mist. And you would think, while that's happening, either, like, multiple people are going to get behind Ai and, like, try to pull Saki, or they're gonna start, like, kicking at the Heartless, or having their Digimon start attacking the Heartless. Hey, while this is going on, Agumon, turn to Machine Dramon real quick. Blast this thing, or, like, use your claws to, like, save Saki. But none of it happens. There are so many moments that lead up to this death scene where I thought, why isn't this character doing this? Maybe it wouldn't have saved her. I don't know. All I know is, literally while playing, this was not just me going afterwards like, oh, this could have happened, or this could happen. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? This scene needs so many moving pieces not to move that should have moved. And to me, that makes it not work. So that's Wrath Route problem number 1. Number 2 is I don't know how much I like Aoi going crazy. On the one hand, I get it, where, number 1, like, we have seen that she and Saki are very close to each other. Excuse me. So this being something that she's very close to, dying, she was holding her hands and Saki let go. It's a combination of I wasn't strong enough to save her, and also, like, she gave up on me kind of thing. And as someone who's, been going through a lot of pressure, a lot of it self-inflicted, yeah, she would hold herself to that higher standard. I understand why she would be affected by this, why, she would be upset. But her saying things like, we all need to be one. If everyone just listened to me, this wouldn't have happened. I mean, come on. I'm like, I don't know, but, like, I almost get it, because I think at that point she was kind of the leader of the team, because it was Shuji, and, well, it was kind of nobody, and then it was Shuji, with everyone going, like, I got along to this guy, and then after Shuji gets chomped, it's Takuma. Takuma's gone for about a week, then it's Aoi. So I kind of get it. And as everyone's going in different directions, she's like, this is dumb. We should not be splitting up. And she was absolutely right. So I kind of get it. But it just feels like, okay, you went completely off the deep end. And I can see it. But I feel like I have to justify you losing your mind rather than going, no, this makes sense. Because, like, there's no other way this could have played out. Because I'll talk about the Harmony route in a second. Because I felt like its version of Chapter 9 fixed every problem I had with the Wrathful Routes. But she starts going nuts, which does lead to a great moment with Labramon talking to her and just going, Aoi, what are you talking about? And keep in mind, Labramon's character the entire game up to this point has been, if Aoi wants something, she deserves it. If she likes something, I like it. If she doesn't like something, I don't like it. Aoi's so cool. So having Labramon of all people going, dude, what's wrong with you? Is a really strong moment. Which, by the way, I skipped over this earlier. My favorite line in the game is in Chapter 5. I think it's right before you go into the tunnels. And Shuji does or says something to Lotmon. I don't remember what. And everyone just has this, like, what's wrong with this dude? Like, your Digimon does not deserve this. You're an asshole. Blah, blah, blah. But the line that sticks out to me is Lotmon looking straight at the camera, because there's a lot of sprites that are just forward facing. But it feels like Lotmon's looking right at me and just says, why? Why am I the only one who's so despised? And it broke my heart. Like, you poor baby. You don't deserve this. Also, you've been, like, consistently performing pretty well in combat, even when you don't Digivolve. So I don't know what Shuji's talking about. But anyways, getting a little distracted. So Labramon's like, okay, dude, like, you've gone completely nuts, and I don't understand why. Oh, I skipped over the library, because that happens in between. Okay, so something that will always happen in Chapter 8 is after the amusement park is the library, which kind of appears out of nowhere, where Renamon goes to the master and says, I will bring you the other children of sacrifices if you give me Miyuki. And the master kind of goes, you think I'm actually going to make that deal? I mean, sure, I'm totally going to give you Miyuki back. Just give me the other kids. So Renamon, in her form as Haru, is, I haven't talked about Haru, but like, don't worry about it. It's just essentially pretending to be another child, is leading people into this area to get sacrificed. And she specifically is targeting Aoi because she's away from everyone, because she's gone nuts and needs some time alone. So she gets lured off to this place, everyone else goes there, and Renamon starts showing them illusions. Renamon specifically says, I don't control what you see, I'm just kind of throwing things at you. But essentially they see their guilt manifested, and Aoi is seeing Saki saying, yeah, I didn't deserve to die. You do, though. You didn't save me. We were friends. You suck. But you can still join me. You can make things right by joining me. And I'm like, I'm supposed to like Renamon after this? Like, sure, she can't control like, she's not controlling what we see, but I'm supposed to like you after this. I don't know, Chief. And everyone afterwards, because the master's like, yeah, I wasn't going to give you back Miyuki, are you stupid? And Renamon gets mad and joins the party, and everyone's like, oh, it's fine. You know, like, we forgive you. It's okay that you tried to sacrifice us and all that. You know, you were just trying to save Miyuki. Sure, granted, that's accurate. Also, I'm like 90% sure you made my friend worse. Like, they might have been able to be saved, but for you. I don't know about this, Chief. But after the library, Aoi goes even more nuts, is by herself, and she runs into Piedmon, who after Chapter 8 is like, he's not dead. I mean, we beat him in Chapter 7. We beat him in Chapter 8, and he was explicitly not okay. So he's just been wandering around for the past few days with mortal wounds and is, like, fine. Okay. I don't buy this. Then Aoi tells Labramon to heal him, because sure. Again, it's like, I kind of buy it. So he turns on them, kills them, but as they're dying, they fuse together? And I'm like, so, I mean, you can do that. I remember that in Tamers. That's how they turned into their megas. But also, what? So, Aoi and Labramon fuse and make Plutomon, who's the most powerful dude ever, even though he's still really easy, barely an inconvenience. And the last couple chapters are just like, alright, well, Plutomon's gonna go kill the Master to take over all the worlds and make everyone one, so we gotta go stop him, so let's fight him again, beat him, fight the Master, beat him, beat Plutomon again, okay, we're done. And then the worlds become fused, and now we have to live in a world that's, essentially, it's the human world, but Digimon are everywhere, but people are discriminated against if they have a partner Digimon, and there's, like, internment camps for people with partner Digimon. But our surviving party members, that being Takuma, Kaito, Miyu, and Minnow, are... I had a pun that I wrote down, and I don't remember because I don't think I have it in my notes. I haven't even looked at the screen. I'm just going off the dome. They're Digimon vigilantes. Did I call them, like, Vigimon? Nah, I don't think that sounds quite right. But anyways, they become... I think Digilantes is what I call them. That was my pun. But they go around, like, helping people that have partner Digimon and saving them, like, from the cops and whatnot. And I'm just kind of going... Huh? Okay, I don't hate this. This is actually it's weird, and it's not at all where I thought this was going. But I'll give it points. This is interesting, but I'm sorry, why did these two fuse into Plutomon? Like, I don't think the Wrath route works. Then you get the Harmony version of events, which is, it's Miyu who dies in the amusement park and Kaito who goes nuts. And it makes perfect sense. The reason Miyu dies is... Number one, she has an argument with Kaito about how overprotective he is, how smothering he is, and how it's so annoying. Then she runs off because she hears someone calling, she hears a Heartless calling for help. They don't know it's a Heartless, but they hear that calling for help. And as the queen of the amusement park, she's like, I am the one who has to go help them. Makes total sense why she's like, I gotta go do this. The reason Kaito doesn't immediately follow her is because they just had that talk, and he's internalizing it. It's kind of hitting him, but he's able to be talked out of it enough to be like, okay, no, like, I gotta go make sure my sister's okay, but we'll figure this out later. So the fact that Miyu is not around Kaito, or, like, around anyone, because she immediately ran off, and the others had to sit and talk, makes sense. Shakomon, I love Shakomon. I love just saying its name. But the reason Shakomon is, like, far behind her is because it's a little clam that has to kind of hop around. And it's not like Floramon, who was just next to Saki. No, Miyu is outrunning her Digimon. So, of course, it's not there to protect her. And when the Heartless shows up, it doesn't grab her, drag her around for 10 minutes, and then kill her. It kills her pretty much immediately while no one is there. So... almost every problem I have with Saki got fixed. This scene just works. Also, like I was saying in the raffle, I'm like, okay, I can kind of get how I would go nuts, but I feel like I have to really connect the dots rather than the dots just flawlessly connect. Here, what do we know about Kaito? He's incredibly protective of his sister, and it's very easy to get him angry. His sister just died, so of course he's going to be incredibly angry and incredibly standoffish. So him having trouble connecting with people now, totally get it. Him not forgiving them for not saving his sister, which is also kind of his fault in his own way, which he acknowledges and is very internally, like, angry at himself, makes a lot of sense. Piedmon still being around still doesn't make sense. I don't like that. But I like that Kaito even acknowledges, he's like, I know you're, because he's like, like, I can fuse with your Digimon and we can, destroy everything. And Kaito basically says, I don't know if what you're saying is true or not, and I know I'm kind of being played, but I'm so angry, which is so in character, I don't care. Which is what leads to Cervantes. And that last little conversation he has with Dracmon, who knows he's like, I'm about to die. Like, I am not going to exist after this. And I don't remember exactly what he says, but it's something like, we were friends, right, Kaito? Like, you and I were buddies? That was legit? Yeah. That was legit. And you kind of feel that moment. It's that slight hesitation in Kaito of, am I really going to do this? Like, I know logically this is not something I should do, and I know I'm about to lose my partner. But I just lost my sister. That's where my focus is. Then you get Cervantesmon, you get Boltbuttmon, who, like Plutomon, is super easy, barely an inconvenience. But even that, there's a point where, everyone's kind of able to get through to Kaito, who goes, okay, I don't really want you to destroy everything anymore. Let's not do this. So then Piedmon takes over the personality and is like, wow! And, ends up killing him. It's a little more complicated than that. He, absorbs Kaito, and he absorbs the professor, and, Renamon also dies. He dies on the Raffle Route, too. And I was like, I almost feel bad, but I'm still mad at you, so no. But before Kaito dies, he does look over at Takuma, and he's just like, hey. It's a combination of, I'm sorry for what my part in this. This is my bad, but, being friends wasn't so bad. Thank you. It's a really sweet and tender moment. I'm like, why wasn't the Raffle Route this effective in what it did? This just works and makes more sense. And then, you fight Piedmon in this form, then the Master, then Piedmon again, the worlds fuse, but instead of, oh man, people are being discriminated, we gotta be Digilantes, it's just kind of fine. And I think we worked at an institute that was just studying Digimon and partners and whatnot. I think it's nicer, but it's the only part that I think is worse than the Wrath Route, because at least in the Wrath Route, this is super interesting. And the Harmony Route, it's oh yeah, okay, we're just living in harmony with Digimon, I guess. Alright, it's neat, but okay. The Moral Route actually feels different, because none of the humans die in the park, which means no one's going crazy in the library. The library still happens, but no one's being specifically targeted or singled out, which makes me more lenient toward Renamon. And I will fully admit that. Also, Garurumon shows up again, because he's a recurring antagonist in those first 7 chapters. And he's the professor, because it's a bunch of kids, and then there's also the professor who goes with them, and it turns out he was in the digital world before, and his sister is Miyuki. But Miyuki got left behind, so she still looks like a kid. The professor, he's like, it's been 50 years. I'm old as hell. And Garurumon is like, I was left behind too, and it makes me hate humans. In the Wrath Route, he just disappears. In the Harmony Route, he just disappears. In the Moral Route, oh no, look, it's Garurumon again. Piedmon's the one who just disappears. But after what happened in Chapter 8, I don't feel like he disappeared. I feel like he died. I don't know why that didn't happen in the other routes. This makes no sense. But then Garurumon shows up, joins the party. We all go to save Miyuki. And there's just a lot of cool stuff that happens, like fighting Miyuki possessed by the Master, and now the Gabumon is here. We have Omnimon or Omegamon. I'm like, I don't know which name sounds cooler. Omnimon is what sounds the most right to me, because that's what I've always known him as, but Omegamon goes hard. And so you're doing this, and you gotta fight that, and then Renamon dies, but then, Miyuki comes to her senses, and Renamon becomes an egg, and then rehatches, and all your party members have these Persona 4 moments where they're talking to their shadows, the true selves, but it helps them conquer themselves, and they become better versions of themselves because of all the hardships they've endured. And then we fight the master, and we beat the master, and the worlds don't fuse, but we all get to go home and spread the gospel of Digimon. And because we're using digital media, like message boards and photos to help people believe in fairies. They're like, well, maybe that, because we're using digital media to save that world, maybe we should call it the digital world, and those monsters are digital monsters. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that part, I was like, that... Dude, I don't know if Reed Richards can make that stretch. Like, that feels like a lot, but okay. But aside from that little bit, like, yeah, you know, everyone went home. We're okay. But we are making sure that people believe in Digimon because we don't want our partners to die. We don't want that world to get destroyed. And we'd also rather not people have to get sacrificed to keep it going. It's... The stuff in Wrath is like a good concept, but the execution doesn't work. In the Harmony route, it works super well. And then the Moral route says, I'm just going to do something different. And it's probably the best of the three. Yeah, that's basically it. I'd say after an hour. Overall, there are problems that I do have with Digimon Survive. Like, I do wish that the tactical gameplay was a bit more difficult, which would make it a lot more rewarding to play. And I do think that there are problems with the story, notably in the Wrath route. Like, I don't like the way it's executed, and as I've said several times, I wish that my decisions felt like they had more of an input, or, excuse me, an impact on how the story unfolds. But I did genuinely enjoy my time with Digimon Survive. I did enjoy playing the tactics gameplay, even if I wish it was a bit more difficult. I did enjoy the majority of the story I actually got. Is it peak? Not really, but it didn't need to be. I experienced something I liked, and that was enough for me.